2:47 p.m., Gate C-12. New York Liberty International. The cabin door is still propped open. The jet bridge hums like a tired beehive, and a 9-year-old black girl is told to move, to stand, to disappear from the seat she paid for, and the whole front cabin freezes when they finally hear her last name. You want to know how a seat turns into a battleground? How a routine flight becomes a courtroom with armrests and tray tables pull up? Because this one starts soft and ends shaking the country. You know what I mean? She's in 3, a small frame, lavender backpack hugged like a life vest, sneakers not quite making contact with the floor. The plane smells like lemon cleaner and yesterday's coffee. That recycled air bouquet you stop noticing after takeoff. A flight attendant crisp smile, tidy bun, the kind of voice that's been trained to sound like a lullaby crouches and tilts her head, all sugar and schedule. Sweetheart, this seat isn't for you. Can I see your real boarding pass? The girl blinks. Her name is Maya Reed, and she's been counting clouds since she was 5. Her hand shakes a little as she offers the crumpled slip, the ink smudged just enough to make doubt feel invited. The attendant glances, doesn't really read, gives the kind of smile people put on when they've already decided the ending. Business class, she says, tight around the edges. Are you sure this is yours? Maya nods. My mom told me sit here and wait. A man in a charcoal blazer leans into the aisle like curiosity grew legs, murmurs to his seatmate, maybe she snuck up from coach. A woman by the window taps her phone camera on, low angle, red dot pulsing like a tiny heart. Another attendant arrives, clipboard tucked against her side like a shield. Let's not make this difficult, the first one says, which always means it's about to get difficult. Let me back up a sec. That's me talking. By the way, I'm in 5D with a paper cup of Gate coffee and a messy ponytail. A journalist brain that can't help narrating even when I want to be off duty. I watch policy get personal for a living. I promised myself today I was going to read, nap, mind my own aisle. Yeah, that happened. Maya's knuckles go wide around the backpack strap. She stands because they stand over her, not because she wants to move. I'm supposed to be here, she whispers. Someone in 4C asks if she's unaccompanied. Someone else swears they saw her board alone. And I can feel the words forming before anyone says them, words like protocol and safety and just doing our jobs. A third crew member in a Navy vest descends like a verdict. We'll get you where you're supposed to be, he says, not unkind, just unlistening. Phones lift 2, then 5, then a dozen, that quiet, modern raising of hand that says, I'm here and also I'm keeping receipts. You're delaying boarding, honey, the clipboard voice says. Please come with us. Maya shakes her head. Not defiant, exactly just anchored. My mom said to sit right here. Security gets whispered like candy passed down a rose sweet to the people holding it, bitter to the one who's about to taste it. A pilot peeks out, reads the scene like a weather map, retreats. The man in the blazer laughs, probably back in economy, and I don't know the girl's mother yet, but I know that laugh, that little door closing. Is this really about the seat or the skin? Someone says not a shout, not a chant, just a fact laid on the tray table like a napkin. Murmurs thicken, air vents hiss louder, and Maya's eyes go glassy the way kids' eyes do when they're trying not to cry. She pulls a phone from her hoodie pocket, one missed call, then another. Mom, she whispers when it finally connects. I'm on my seat. An attendant reaches, palms together like prayer. I'm going to need your attention. Maya turns her face away, as if privacy can exist in a row with 12 cameras. A badge appears, airport operations. Not law enforcement, but the name tag reads K. O'Malley, and he crouches like he's been trained to make problems small by getting low to the ground. What's your name, sweetheart? Maya, she says, voice like a pebble dropped in a fountain. Maya Reed. O'Malley's jaw flickers like a socket finding the bulb. He stands too fast, mutters about confirming, pivots toward the galley. The clipboard tightens, the smiles vanish, the word economy floats like dandelion fluff and lands exactly where they mean it to. Act 1 ends there, the ask, the no, the phones, the threat of removal, the match dragged along the box, the spark. Act 2 is the burn. The first twist arrives, quietly a woman, 3 rows back, flips her camera from the aisle to her own face. My name is Carla Monroe, she says to her live stream, voice low and measured, that radio calm that cuts through chaos. And I'm documenting what appears to be a profiling incident. A blue check pops, viewers climb. The cabin doesn't know yet that Carla hosts a weekly segment called Receipts, that she has 1 million people who listen when she says, "Watch with me." The airline rep comes back with a security pair in TSA blue. They don't touch Maya. They don't kneel. They hover the way adults hover when they want their height to do the talking. "We can escort her off until her guardian arrives," one says, light as a shrug. "She already said her mother is on board," Carla calls out. The clipboard woman cycles through the script. "We don't have confirmation. We can't delay departure. Please comply." The language of sanded-down liability, the kind built to sound neutral while it lands like a shove. Maya doesn't move. She reaches into her backpack like she's about to pull out a coloring book. Instead, it's a small laminated card, corners rounded, the plastic cloudy with use. She holds it high, both hands, the way kids hold fragile things they aren't allowed to drop. "Look at the name," she says louder now, that quake gone. The closest phone zooms mine, if we're being honest, and the letters come into focus in the jittering light. Maya and Reed, minor companion of Judicial Authority federal clearance. The cabin exhales like a single body. You can feel the click of context falling into place. "Reed," someone whispers. "As in Justice Naomi Reed?" Another voice, disbelieving and also thrilled to be first. "No way, not that Reed." Security steps back, so fast the aisle breeze lifts a stack of in-flight menus. The Navy-vested crew lead takes the card, blanches, hands it to the clipboard, who hands it back like it's hot. We didn't realize," she stammers. "You didn't ask," Maya says, and I swear you can hear a gavel somewhere, not in anger, just in accuracy. The curtain slides, and she appears not with a posse, not with a chin lifted like a movie star, just a tall black woman in a charcoal coat who moves like stakes are her natural habitat. If you ever watched a Supreme Court argument clip and thought, what does composure mean out in the wild, it looks like this. She touches Maya's shoulder steady, not swooping. No cooing apology for the world, and when she turns to the crew, her voice is sanded smooth by decades of courtroom practice. "My daughter told you she was in 3A," Justice Naomi Reed says, not loud, just undeniable. "You made a different assumption." Let me back up a sec, because here's the second twist. What really scares this crew isn't power, it's evidence. The cameras. Carla's stream. My phone, and the quiet guy in 7C who hasn't looked up once, because his lens has been locked on Maya's hands for 5 minutes, recording the tremor, the stillness, the pass of that plastic card from child to adult like a chain of custody. Applause starts tentative, then full-bodied, not the cheer of fans, the relief of witnesses. The man in the blazer shrinks 2 sizes without moving. A teen whispers, "Tag Taylor Rice," and suddenly the story is outside the metal tube, streaking through timelines, breaking news cheerin's bumping summer reruns. The airline PR statement pings phones before the jet bridge can retract, "We regret a miscommunication." And you can feel the whole cabin roll its eyes in perfect synchronization. You think that's the end to reveal, the apology, the good guys won fade out, but the real Act 2 isn't the clapback, it's the consequences. Justice Reed doesn't perform for cameras. She doesn't monologue like a courtroom drama. She picks up the laminated card from the carpet and says only, "Maya stays." The captain swallows and nods. The clipboard offers upgrade vouchers like paper towels after a flood. "We're not requesting favors," Justice Reed replies, and there's a hush that feels like a new rule being written in the air. The flight never leaves. You half expect them to make it about the weather. Boarding gets paused, then canceled, then people are walking back up the jet bridge in 2 lines, one quiet, one on the phone saying, "You are not going to believe this." A boy in a hoodie holds his mom's hand and says to no one in particular, she shouldn't have to be somebody's daughter for them to listen. If you're looking for the thesis, there it is floating above the aisle like a speech bubble. Aftermath moves like a montage, headlines, hashtags, hearings. But in a story like this, you need the texture, the way the world shifts by inches before it jumps. Carla's stream ticks past 100,000 live, then 2, and by dinner time, clips of Maya saying, "If it didn't ask," are stitched into history lessons and makeup tutorials alike. A congresswoman goes live from her office. We're drafting the Minors in Transit Protection Act, and for once the comment section sounds less like a fight and more like a choir. Airline memos leak crew discretion phrases highlighted like bruises, and you learn that what happened in 3A has cousins in a dozen terminals. Same script, different child. The man from 7C, his name is Joe Singh. A school counselor flying to a conference uploads one clean, steady clip. Just Maya's hands on the armrest. Just the card. Just the moment the crew flinches at her name. No commentary. No caps. No music. It gets used by every network because it doesn't tell you what to think, it shows you what happened. That's the kind of twist that changes juries and sometimes laws. And Maya, 9 years old, and he's not quite bumping the seat ahead, gets asked, begged, coaxed to speak. For a week, she says very little, because children shouldn't have to explain the harm done to them while the adults who did it hide behind policy. But then there's a hearing, polished wood, microphones, a nameplate that looks too official beside a cup of apple juice, and when the chair yields time, Maya clears her throat, leans toward the mic, and says, I thought the scary part of flying was turbulence. It wasn't. You could hear a tie pin drop. I had a ticket, she goes on, voice small and straight. I sat in my seat, and I watched grown-ups decide I didn't belong. Not because of a number on paper, but because of a picture in their heads. She doesn't cry. She doesn't scold. She just describes the room from inside the room, the way a kid tells a story about a playground that suddenly stopped being fun. Let me back up a sec, because you might be wondering where was I through all this? Right there, taking notes on a napkin like the old reporter I am, trying to keep my own opinion from flooding the lens. You know what I mean? The job is to witness, not to star in it. But sitting in 5D with the metal taste of adrenaline and coffee in my mouth, I knew I'd never again be able to pretend that mistake and pattern feel the same when they touch a child. Act 3 doesn't arrive with a timpani. It shows up like sunrise slow, then sudden. 3 months later, same city, different gate. New signage on the concourse reads, every seat belongs to someone, verify before you vilify. A bronze plaque near B17 glows under 1,000 fingerprints, a small inscription that says, in honor of a child who stayed seated when told to vanish. People stop to take pictures. Some press their palms. Some laugh because they don't know whether to cry. Maya walks back onto a plane with the calm of someone who has already seen the worst of this particular room. The attendant at the door, younger, eyes bright, doesn't hover, doesn't coo. Miss Reed, she says, gentle, real, welcome aboard 3, as ready for you. It should be ordinary. And because of what came before, it is, and that, my friend, might be the quietest definition of justice I've ever heard. She sits same lavender backpack, same little keychain with a chipped star, and exhales. Justice Reed rests a hand on the headrest behind her, then slips forward into first. Not because of hierarchy, but because that's where her ticket says she belongs. Across the aisle, a kid whispers to his dad, that's the girl. The dad nods, then corrects him softly, that's Maya. Outside, the runway glints. Inside, the intercom cracks. We're honored to have a very special passenger today, and the cabin answers with something between a smile and a prayer. Maya turns her face to the oval window where the sky looks like a promise, and for a moment, the world is exactly as simple as lift and drag. But this is where I have to leave you with a question, the one that won't stop tapping my ribs. Why did the temperature only change when her last name did? Why did the room soften at the sound of Justice Reed, and not at the sight of a child saying, my mom told me to sit here? You can pass laws, and you can write training modules and hang plaques, and we will, but what happens in the human heart between show me your ticket, and I believe you, that's the runway we still haven't paved. The screen fades to a final shot, a slow dolly down a narrow aisle, armrests on either side like pews. Maya's hand, brown and small, slides onto the armrest of 3A and stays there, steady, ordinary, claimed. Engines whine, flaps set, the whole machine shivers at the threshold between ground and flight, and right before the nose lifts, the picture cuts to black. Tell me in the comments, what does accountability look like when the cameras are off? Where's the line between protocol and profiling, policy and prejudice? If you were in that aisle 247 p.m., door still open, a child holding a laminated card like a shield, what would you have done, and what do you think we owe the kids whose names will never trend? You know what I mean?